All right. Start so we can get this thing done, shall we? All right. Hey, everybody. How you doing this evening? I have the multi-stream chat up this time. Anybody's. Trying a different flavor or a different brand, I should say. So, I'm kind of deciding whether or not I want to. Yeah, you know what? Let's just don't have much time overall, but I do want to head over to the rest of, because one of the things I did forget to do, and I realized it as I was walking around here trying to get some levels for some of the other classes this morning, or jobs this morning, not this morning, Herpa. But one of the other jobs this weekend was oh right, I have my tank one I can go pick up. Oh, I should do that for stream though. It's not a big deal. But one of the ones I should do definitely for stream is this. Finish up the casters role quest. So we can just knock that out. Since it's supposed to be done at each level, but we kind of left these two to squander here. That's okay. Not gonna worry about it too much. We only missed 2 levels after all. Right? So it's not terrible. Ah, Kisara. Owing to Lord Amric's swift action, I am pleased to say that the Ecumenical Council will soon be held. In case you are unaware, the Council is the highest assembly in the Ishgardian Orthodox Church. Its purpose is to deliberate and decide upon doctrine. The previous one was held no less than 80 years ago. 4 archbishops have since come and gone. 80 years we had 4 archbishops? Jesus. Wait, forgot. Dragon Song War, they probably got killed in action. 4 archbishops have come and gone. As such, most Ishgardians know little of it, save that know what they have read in the historical record. Additionally, the archbishop and members of the synod would meet behind closed doors. In light of Bishop Bartonel's fate, however, this time the doors will be thrown open to the public. You're throwing open doors. I assume it's... Oh, no, it's not who I assumed. Indeed. For the first time in history, all men and women of the faith may have a hand in shaping the mission in the church. It is my hope that you will also join us in this endeavor. Allow me to express our gratitude for your efforts in facilitating the council. We appreciate the difficulty of your position. I merely heed my conscience and my faith, my lord. Acting in Bishop Bartonel's stead, I shall do all within my power to see that the church may serve the people once more. Where's the Lord Speaker, if I may ask? Stepped outside for a moment, saying that he wished to gather his thoughts ahead of the council. The hour draws nigh, however. Kisara, I shall proceed to the vault with the good deacon. In the meantime, may I ask you to find Lord Emmerich? He should be in the last vigil, I believe. Beep 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 beep. I just want to get these done since they're supposed to be done. Well, not supposed to be done, but storyline-wise, they're supposed to be done around the same time as the levels. Technically, I am behind, but that is not what I'm worried about right now. Oh, wait, last vigil, I can just teleport here. That's probably the faster way to go. Especially since there's only 2 missions, and then I'll go back and finish it up. I was half thinking to go back and do some roulettes and whatnot, but I really want to finish the story with the new raid dropping tomorrow. I swear to God that I would be so much more ahead if it wasn't for the logging queues. Though today the logging queue wasn't half bad. He says when it was 3,000 in queue, but you know, the fact that I'm starting 30 minutes early instead of 30 minutes late is already a... Oh, shoot. I forgot to change something. I'll fix it as soon as we finish this cutscene. Oh, my friend. That time already. Disregard drop frames. I know what happens is that I set it to 120 over the weekend and apologies for making you come and fetch me. I've been thinking, Kisara, on the path that I have chosen, on those who have been left behind as a consequence of my actions. Those who died fighting, those burdened with boundless grief, those deprived of position and purpose. Like any nation, Ishgard is made up of disparate souls with disparate beliefs. Without an enemy to unite us, we recall the differences we once set aside out of necessity, and find amongst our old friends new ideological foes. Yeah. It is a tried and true method in every single form of government that if you're having infighting, or just, you know, you're having difficulty keeping up people liking you, find a common foe. The problem is that the common foe usually has to be external, not internal to your political structure, because internal just makes it all worse. Future I had envisioned, far more difficult to secure than I had ever. What must I do for our people to live in harmony, for our nation to move forward as one? Pondering. We should begin making our way to the council. Shall we continue our conversation while we walk? Wait, are we gonna... Yes! Okay, perfect. And we're doing this... Hold on, let me just fix the... Bam! Now we won't have an issue with drop frames. Ready? Then let us be off. If it is agreeable, I would like to look on for Tom Mana. Mana. Woohoo! This is so cool. They're doing it in old zones too. Ah! Feels like another age that you and yours were no more than foreign wards of House Fortom. And in actual fact, it may be considered so. For your coming set in motion a chain of events that brought the end of the Dragonsong War, ushering in a new age of harmony. You paved the way for meaningful change in our nation, and for that you shall ever have my gratitude. Now then, shall we continue on to the architects? King Thordan and his Knights 12, King Thordan and his Knights 12, the murderers of Ratatoska. Since the truth of their ancient crime came to light, many have demanded that these images be torn down. Oh. Yet. Oh! Oh, speaking of... okay. I think I know this is something else that it's referring... Oh, man. Who wrote these, the role stories? Was it still, Why am I continually forgetting her name? But anyway, the writer of the main scenario? Oh. Yet though what our founding fathers did was wrong. Yet though what... Okay, I think... Wow, my brain is just not working. Yet though what our founding fathers did was wrong, neither is it right to simply expunge them and their deeds from history. To do so would be deny our people's part in what followed for 1,000 years. We have the chance to forge a new future, but we as a nation must decide how we will confront our past. Forgive me. I was lost in thought yet again. Let us join Deacon Clem at the vault. His vault? No, sorry, wrong franchise. There you are. Sorry. There you are, my friends. The council is about to convene. Let us take our place in the audience hall. Let us take our place in the audience hall. Wow. I'm so used to this place being in sunset. Every single time I've been in the vault to fight. The fact that it's... Oh, this isn't even where we usually are. Okay. Yeah. Cutscene only location because there's the Archbishop's seat there. Esteemed members of the clergy and honored adherents of the faith, I thank you for your I thank you all for your attendance. In recent days, our nation has been racked with a series of tragedies. Those among us who do Halone's work... Is it Halone or Halone? I keep forgetting. I'm gonna go with Halone for a second. Those among us who do Halone's work have been transformed into abominations. This dreadful phenomenon has been brought about by the final days, and it is upon our despair and anguish that it feeds. Thus, if we are to prevent any further tragedy, we must strive to ensure that all Ishgardians, clergymen and citizens alike, abide with peace and love for one another in their hearts. To that end, I have called this ecumenical council, the first in generations, that we might together determine a path forward for the church and our society as a whole. I see familiar faces out there from other side quests I've done. Since antiquity, the Ishgardian Orthodox Church served people in two respects, as the Fury's spear to strike at the heart of dragonkind, and as the Fury's shield to safeguard the souls of men. But now we are at peace with the Dravanians. The church need no longer serve as the spear, so now we must reconsider how we might better serve as the shield for our brethren. The hierarchy must be reformed. And for that we need accountability. The upper echelon must be stripped of the rank at minimum, and the investigations conducted. And investigations conducted, trials held, and if the evidence is sufficiently damning. I keep adding stuff that's not there because I feel like it's words in my mouth. Okay. The upper echelon must be stripped of rank at minimum, and investigations conducted, trials held, if the evidence is sufficiently damning. And then we may turn our attention to the doctrine of lies. Their doctrine of lies. Is this person actually on the... This lady makes me feel uncomfortable because Kisara used to look exactly like that, just with, you know, blue and red eyes. So that facial structure, everything was almost damn near the same. So it's just like, okay. As our predecessors did before us, we of the Synod have ever sought to interpret the scriptures to the best of our ability, and thence conveyed Halone's will to the people. Such fervent pursuit of retribution at the expense of doctrine would also come at the expense of our faith. They're fighting each other on the inside as it is. Our souls? This... Okay, I'm just going to read this line and then I'm going to talk about it. This bodes ill. At this rate, someone might turn. So this is like current American politics in a nutshell. Because, holy shit. Okay. So, I was thinking about it specifically when Amric mentioned the statues of the Knights 12 and people calling to have them torn down. Reminds me specifically of the Confederate statues that people are asking to be torn down for similar reasons, because it is no longer cool to be, racist in that regard, right? Um, but I'm of the opinion that so long as you are not glorifying it, it's fine because it's still a work of art, regardless, even if art is. Eye boogers. Anyway, it's still art. So long as they're not being glorified every other day or even once a year, the statues themselves being glorified, it should be fine to leave them in place because at that point they're just kind of like pigeon restrooms. It's not that big of a deal. And at the very least, destruction of the statue is unnecessary. It can be relocated to an art museum, etc., where it can be at least properly not only documented, but also, given context to why it was built in the first place when the person or at least the thing that the person stood for or did an attempt to defense against was not really the most worthwhile thing to do. And then here goes a step to in a different direction of who's at fault for certain things. That, oh my god, is just my brain is, because you have the one younger gentleman on the furthest left from my character, right? Saying that basically they need to be, basically Twitter callouts, right? Cancel culture. It's like they need to be stripped of rank. Investigations need to happen, and if there's enough evidence, then we take them to trial. The whole thing, but at the very least, they should be stripped of their rank. So it's like, what? Just because there's accusations? Now that there needs to be an investigation, sure. There's need to be an investigation. Like I'm bringing it back to the real life that something happened and it needs to be verified, etc. Fine. We'll take them at their word. We won't disbelieve the accuser until there's evidence to the contrary of what their statements has. But by the same token, I won't disbelieve the accused when they're claiming that it's not right. That they're being just attacked without cause. The only exception to that is if the accuser already has a history of the action, or at least a very long history of the accusation. Because at that point now it's just a pattern of behavior. So the evidence for me to at least find them less compelling is not as the evidence doesn't need to be as lock hard at that point because you have a history of behavior. But now and the other side is the same. It's like, well, we have to do this, that, and the other. There's no middle ground here from the two people who made a statement. So let's see where this goes story-wise. But I love the fact that they're taking the same kind of arguments we're having here. I assume that this is from someone in America in particular, or at least that has been paying attention to American politics, because this is so close. Just the only difference is that it is literally a fight between church and state rather than within the state only. Anyway, since the war's end, the church and the faithful have stood at a crossroads, unable to take this next step forward. His Grace Bishop Vartano, may he walk in Helone's halls. Amric has my utmost respect because even the guy who wanted to kill his ass for basically revealing a truth that took away all his power, he still shows him respect. May he walk in Helone's halls. Amric is the kind of person that I wish I could be on the inside as just as much as on the out. On the out, I try to be that all the time, for sure. I give respect to every single person. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and there's never any qualms in my brain over, you know, even when I disagree with somebody, I just kind of sit there as a disagree. But in my brain case, and I'm sure, because we're not hearing Americ's internal thoughts, I'm sure that he's probably not as perfect as he's being portrayed. Even if he is, he's a fictional character. He could be as perfect as they want him to be. But that's how I want to be. It's like, I don't care that I disagree with you. You are still a human being, and I will treat you with respect. I just disagree with what you've done, or your stance with this particular argument. Or maybe even very many arguments. I do this with my father. Okay, but my father's not exactly a good example, if only just because of the fact that he is family. Who could I use? Good exemplar. Oh, I know. So there are some other people that I hang out with on occasion, and I know that some of them I disagree with a great many things, political and etc. But it makes no difference, because it is the one topic that is irrelevant to what I think about them. And at the end, what they can do whatever they want, because, like, here's another good example is the people that basically canceled or pushed to cancellation Scott Cawthon, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, because he donated to Trump in particular. Which, okay, fine, fair play. You disagree with that action. That disagreement, I have no qualms with. I do have an issue with you demanding his removal from the series he created because he did that. He was exercising his own free speech. Oh, but he was using money that we gave him. Yes, and so does every other company in the world. Square Enix lobbies, I bet, at the very least in the Japanese government, just as much as Scott Cawthon was trying to do in the American government. Every company lobbies to get their own way. Usually at the expense, if not of their employees, then of their consumer. So that's not an excuse. And it's already ignoring that he actually donated to a different Democratic cause, but that one fell out of the primary race earlier, so he flipped on a different thing. So, to me, it's just to call people out willy-nilly for something that they did that was not an active harming. And by active harming, I mean, like, literally taking a gun or taking their fist and meeting somebody's face type setup. But on the flip side, that you question and say, why? What was your purpose? What was your thoughts behind that? I have no issues with that. That you disagree with that motion, that's fine too. But to tell a person that they don't deserve your coin, but you still want the game anyway, what kind of hypocrisy is that? I still want the game series. I just want them without the guy who created them. Might I remind everybody that, you know, really loved all Disney products, that the creator of the Walt Disney Corporation was a noted anti-Semite. We can accept that these facts. It's the same issue that I have whenever somebody decides to shit on some other thoughts, where it's like stating the facts, the hard to accept facts about either a group of people, a person, or just part of a history is not a negative thing. Just stating it does not make it bad. You give the context. Without the context, yeah, no. America has been a racist nation forever, and so on and so forth. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, we have. But we've been improving. And we will continue to improve. And I don't know what kind of nation we would be without it, unfortunately, because there's no way to change that. But we can accept that it was founded on those principles of treating only especially at the start, white men in particular, with any kind of credence. And we can see what it has become as a result of the consistent and progressive changes that have come. Ishgard is like a microcosm of all of this, because all these changes are being shotgunned real quick in, at most, like if I'm going to estimate how much time there's been since the end of the Heaven's Ward patch content that dealt with the Dragon Song War to now, at most, and I am overestimating, it's been 5 years. That is super fast. And guess what? More than likely, it's less than that. So it's fast. So of course they're all imploding, and the only thing that makes this worse is the fact that it's the end of days, which causes even worse stuff. So anyway, enough of my soapboxing. I'm sorry. Let me get back to this. But again, mad respect for this man who decided to, a guy who thought he should die, he's still giving respect, saying, may he walk in Helone's halls. Mad respect for this guy. Was one such soul, and in his longing for simpler times, he resorted to using the forbidden magics. Has come to despair. In our minds, we renounced the lies upon which our nation was built. But in our hearts, we yet yearned for the righteousness, misguided though it was, that gave us comfort and purpose for so long. Oh my god. I screenshotted that because I need to. So let us not forget who we were. Let us confront the mistakes of the past and learn from them, that we do not repeat the mistakes of our forefathers. As fervently as we believed in our sacred duty, we struggle to accept the Church's deception and embrace change. The legacy of Thordan weighs heavy, and there is the temptation to simply cast it aside like a mantle that suits us no longer. Yet that would dishonor the sacrifice of those who went before. Countless souls who served the people with purest intent. And so, heavy though it may be, let us together bear this burden as we set forth anew. Our friend Kisara has risked life and limb to reveal the truth to us. The truth that our legends and our scripture were tainted by betrayal, but not wholly corrupted. Though the great walls and towering spires of our city may have been built with murder and deception, they rest upon a foundation immutable and true. Our devotion to Helone, whom we have worshipped since before our forefathers settled these lands. The Church is a font of practical wisdom, and its teachings guide us in our daily lives. Such things define our faith no less than the lies. We can acknowledge our sins without renouncing our religion. Without rejecting who we are. A comprehensive review of scripture as well as historical literature will be necessary. Revisions, as appropriate, must be made to ensure that the truth of our past preserve for future generations. With your peerless knowledge of church doctrine, I dare say none is better suited to leading the effort than you. I also expect that many eyes will be required to pore over all the tomes, and I know many idle men and women of faith who would jump at the chance to do Helone's work once more. If only it was this easy. That day so very long ago. I had no answer to my father's words, but it seems the people had it within them all along. Because in real world, that statement was made. Each one of those took a different side of it, and they continued just hammering themselves through the wall with silliness instead of actually accepting the middle ground. And don't get me wrong, the middle ground is not always the actual answer. Sometimes someone is actually wrong. But that doesn't mean that the middle ground should be dismissed out of hand for the sake of it. With this, the church and the people have taken their first step towards a brighter future. It is well Lord Amric interjected what he did. Very well that Lord Amric interjected what he did, because if there's something that I'm not good at, it's speechifying. And I mean that in real life as well as, gameplay. The council went better than I had dared hope. Truly. While the details remain to be decided, 'twas a resounding success. Your words helped everyone find common ground. I do not know how to thank you. Much credit must go to Kisara. In the face of great hardship, never did she hesitate to press on, and our people have not forgotten this. Yeah, I'll remind you that you guys threw all the knights in my face when I was storming the vault because someone else was... And you killed my best bud, my bro! I don't hold it against anybody but that one knight that did it, and he's dead, so it's okay. Indeed. We do well. Well do I remember the day you flew into Ishgard upon the dragon's back. In making the impossible possible, you inspired us all. In you we glimpsed the fury, a vision of courage in the face of uncertainty. In looking to your example, we shall endeavor to bring about the change for the church, for the future of all Ishgardians. There will, of course, still be those souls who struggle to rise above the mire of despair. But my fellows and I shall be there to take their hand in faith and love. For what is faith, if not salvation? Well, I had best return to the cathedral. We have much and more to do. But ere I forget, I have tracked down that which you requested. Some repairs will be necessary, but it will be seen to with all haste. That's right. We still haven't dealt with Fafnir yet. I have tasked the deacon with finding a certain item, you see. A secret weapon, one might say. Given what we know of profane Fafnir, I suspect it will be of great use in our hunt. Once the repairs are complete, we shall be ready to strike. With the church having reached an accord with the people, the risk of more clergymen turning is greatly diminished. Now we may now focus entirely on the blasphemy. It is time we freed Vaindro from his torment. Rest while you can, Kisar, for I dare say the coming battle will demand the best of us. Let me nap for a second. Okay, I think I'm ready to go. I've rested. I have rested. I am ready to roll. Ooh, that's what the nines look like, huh? I guess we'll be dressed to the nines. I'm only partly sorry about that. Glad tidings, Kisara. Since the Ecumenical Council, not a single soul has turned. Safe in the knowledge, we only need to think of how to hunt down the blasphemy. Ah, Kisara, you are here too. Excellent. I am pleased to say that that the secret weapon is ready. We may now look to dealing with profane Fafnir. As you will recall, when we last encountered it, it was lying in wait by the Soleil. an instinct driven by its inherited memories, I believe. It seeks to protect that which it most strongly associates with the Archbishop. In all likelihood, 'twas the selfsame motive that compelled it to come to the Holy See from the skies above. It keeps watch over the Holy Vault. When it next descends, we shall exploit this instinct by using secret weapon to lure it into the chancel? What the heck is a chancel? Come on. Chancel? I also want to know how it's pronounced, because that is... I'm sitting here like, what the F is that? This chancel. The part of the church near the altar reserved for clergy and choir. Okay, so basically the altar, essentially. So you... Seriously? You're gonna bring it all the way there? Wow, that's real close. What exactly is this secret weapon? It is none other than the Fury's Grace, the holy crozier of the Archbishop. Actually, how do you pronounce that? I said crozier, but that's not quite it, I bet. It is crozier. Okay. I pronounced it right. Hooray for me! Yay! Suspecting that the Bishop Vartano had received it, the Bishop Vartano had retrieved it from Asisla, I had Deacon Clem search his private quarters. My suspicions were proven correct. With crozier in hand, I shall make an irresistible bait for profane Fafnir. My lord, there is an unconscionable risk. No, there's no telling how the blasphemy would react. Indeed. But we can be confident that I will command his undivided attention, thus ensuring that no more of our citizens are placed in harm's way. If the Heaven's Word were the Archbishop's shield, then the Temple Knights are the people's. As leader of the Order, the risk is mine to bear. All the Knights of the Heaven's Ward fell in Asisla. As a vessel for their memories, Vaindrel may be considered the last of their number. Let us go then, and relieve him of his... their duty. Let us see to our preparations and proceed to the vault. We finish this once and for all. Ishgardian GC when? Ishgardian GC when? Because right now, Merwib is looking really weak next to Amric. We got Ishgardian housing. Now I want the GC. Where are we going? Closest one would be, I guess, either the tribunal or... I'm still doing that out of habit. Opening the map so I could see when I could just do it from the freaking teleport as it is. Here we go. Hey, you're armored up. When the battle begins, Lord Amric and I will draw the blasphemy's attacks. Why you? Seize the opportunity and bring your magics to bear against it, which is why this is the magic roll, magic DPS roll thing. If you are ready, then let us set forth. You need but say the word. Bird. Oh! I know where we are. This is the last part of the vault. Literally. The beast has come! Now is our chance! I'm sorry. I love you, Amric, but you need to learn how to put that thing down with the same force as freaking Graha, just to make it look more badass. Make ready. To me, my knights! You need a little bit more practice, but that's okay. Blasphemy, profane Fafnir. Have we met a Fafnir yet? For the glory of King Dordan. Oh, you're not he. A trick. It is a trick. Wait, where did the Crozier go? Forgive me, Sir Vandro, but for the sake of all Ishgardians, we must strike you down. Seems appropriate. Loading the instance. We are. Thank you for provoking. I know those feels, Artoel. No. Ah, screwed that up. Oh, I missed that. Why didn't we bring a Chichurchin? Okay. No! Come back here! Stand your guard. Ow! Right on top of my freaking circle! You dick! Toriel, please! Don't make me move! Oh, I went to the wrong spot. Oh, this is so good for Black Mage. Oh, my target died. No wonder I was having a time and a half with that. Oh, this is amazing. I love this story-wise. Did he get damage up? He's got damage up. But it finishes up. No, come back! I hate him. I hate him so much. First one is right there. But go to the Cardinals as soon as I'm done with this. He just appeared at like the worst opportunities for my rotation because I was like finishing up the hardest hitting part of it and it would just take the hell off. Finally, it's over. Thus ends the tale of the Heavens Ward. Let it not be forgotten. It was wrong of them to conceal the truth of our nation's founding, to abet the Archbishop in his machinations. Yet in peering into their hearts, one thing became clear. They too had succumbed to primal manipulation. They too were victims. Flawed men, aye, but not without sin. And not without sin, but Ishgardians brave and true, as we all aspire to be. Having triumphed in the battle of ideals, I have a responsibility to our people. Their hopes and dreams, their sorrow and suffering are mine to bear, and bear them I shall. For had you not vanquished King Thorin, or I erred in but one of my choices. I may well have become the first to succumb to despair, to be reborn of blasphemy. I disagree with this line, so I'm gonna go with that one. Because I feel like I have too much determination to succumb to despair. Like, I'm gonna keep trying until I'm dead. And at that point, I can't become blasphemy because I'm dead. Thank you, my friend, for having such confidence in me. Did I just give him like a weird Irish-ish accent? Or not a British one that he should have, for sure. My apologies. It was not my intent to wax sentimental. Our work here is done. Let us return to the congregation. Are we just gonna leave the brochure there? I mean, not like we can really use it for anything, and it's really just a symbolic thing, but... Are we just gonna leave it there? Right? Okay. Alright. With this, we will have finished this thing, and we will go back and do the main scenario stuff-sies. And we will definitely just knock it the heck out. We are going to finish tonight. I will just beeline, be it 2 in the morning or whatever the hell, I will finish this story tonight. Bum, bum, bum. Hey, Clem! What are you doing? Or maybe he went to go pick up the grocer. I heard here as soon as I learned of your victory. There are a few words I would say, but I can wait until Lord Artorial and Demon Clem have spoken theirs. Kisara, permit me to offer my own gratitude for helping us overcome not only the blasphemy, but the despair which spawned it. But this is only the beginning. On the face of it, we may have made tremendous strides in breaking down the ancient barriers within our society. But there yet remains great rifts to be bridged. It is no easy thing to rise above a lifetime of preconceptions and prejudice. I myself have struggled to do so, as you must know. But I shan't give up. On the honor of my house, I will do everything in my power to build a new Ishgard. One in which all people can see eye to eye, regardless of birth and station. Now then, I believe the deacon has some words for you too. Pray, lend him an ear. I thought you were dropping preconceptions. Why are you making racist comments about my ears, dude? Lady Kisara, may I say how glad I am that you are safe and well. Just before you arrived, Lord Emmerich explained to me the true nature of the man who became the blasphemy. The poor, confused creature that was born of the church's mistakes, and on behalf of the clergy, I give you my heartfelt thanks for laying it to rest. As we work to reform our institutions and rebuild our relationship with the people, we will remember and pray for those who have fallen in the service of the faith. And we shall pray for you as well. Wherever your path may lead, may the Fury ever watch over and keep you. I shall leave it at that, then. Lord Emmerich wishes to speak with you to speak, and 'twould not do to keep him waiting. I kind of wish I could change my god that I have, but then again, the mechanic that's behind it is not relevant anymore, so... Sarah, Lord Artorial, thank you for the vital roles you played during you played in ridding us of profane Fafnir. As ever, the sight of you in combat was nothing short of inspiring. You have your brother to thank for that. With no further reported instances of people turning and the blasphemy itself no more, I should like to believe we are free of the scourge of despair. My brethren and I shall labor to see that it remains so by fighting to dispel the darkness in men's hearts. And I shall fight with you, not only as the Speaker of the House of Lords or the Lord Commander of the Temple Knights, but as a man of faith in our God and in our people. Together, let us strive to fill our nation with hope. Kisar, by now you will be sick unto death of being thanked, but I must nonetheless express additional words of gratitude. Full oft have you saved our nation, our people. I speak not only of our lives, but of our hearts and minds as well. You have given us a great gift, that of opportunity and choice. And if we are to repay you for it, we as a nation must take full advantage of our freedom to dictate our new course forward into a brighter future. What forward means we may not always agree upon. But as fellow Ishgardians, we shall find a way to rise above our differences and stand united. That is the nation I will strive to build. This I swear to you. Sir, given that all you've done for us, I'm loath to impose further, but may I trouble you to bear word of our success to Officer Razatan? I just came from there, though. Fine. We will, of course, be sending a report, but there's no substitute for a first-hand account. Our allies would benefit from the additional details you can provide as well. Our thanks again, my friend, and may the Fury speed your way. Cutscene Kisara is way different from gameplay Kisara. I would have taken the stepping across the table shortcut, but she's a little bit more proper and she decides to walk around the table instead. I can't wait to see the rest of the role quest, because this one was like, even ignoring... Oh, cool. One of the things I was like, oh god, I have to pay the bill. I forgot that I said it as my free point. Awesome. But even forgetting the ignoring the setup of, oh well, you know, look at the real world parallels, just like the throwbacks to all the stuff that we've done in the past with Radiant Host. Probably around this corner, yeah? Ish? No, straight and then. Ah, my Lady Kisara. By your return, I dare hope that the hunt for the blasphemy was a success? That you would vanquish the beast comes as little surprise, but that this occasion would serve as the impetus for the church to embark on a path of reform is incredible. I will share these joyous tidings with our allies without delay. If I may speak candidly, I must confess that being a great admirer of yours. When you have a moment, I should like to hear about some of your adventures, if you would do me the honor. For the present, however, in my official capacity as Ishgardian delegate, I offer you my humblest thanks for your immeasurable service to our nation. Oh, I'm getting all three. Nice. I thought I had to choose. That's cool. That is actually cool. That we can now dye this gear. Wait a minute. Oh, I was like, it's not dyeing anything. But it is. It's dyeing the glow. Very rarely does that get allowed, but that's cool. But as a black mage, I think, you know, staying as is probably the better idea. Alright. I did set up a teleport all the way out there, right? Yeah. I'm gonna have to drive a good ways just because I know that I wasn't supposed to be where I was, but at least it makes it so it's a quick teleport. And we'll just, vroom our way back. So where are they? Okay, south. Not that way, South Kisara. Oh, looks like we're coming this way at some point because I see this guy staring at a cutscene. So, I'm not gonna worry about getting aggroed, but because the music from the this area is, I recognize it, but I just don't know from where. Oh. So before we took off, we did talk to these people already, or talk to the non-quest bearing NPC. So let's talk to the one quest bearing one. Hey, did you guys know there be dragons? Ruins? But of what, I wonder? Perhaps we can find something to help us understand the nature of this place. A relic, an inscription, anything. Rahaktia, your thoughts? Look here, this part is relatively intact. I'm... You dick waffle. A dynamis crystal. What? Okay. Interesting. Here, this part is relatively intact. The intricate design of the top tells me that it's man-made, though its builders were certainly not men as we conceive of them. Having said that, I swear I've seen this pattern before. If you've seen it, then it's probably Allegan. There is a structure in front of me, yes? A tower. There is a structure in front of me, yes? A tower of some sort. Partially melted? In a strange twist of fate, it seems our perception of this place is not so different as it would be elsewhere. The world as I used to see it feels as though I am dreaming while awake. This is more than the faded memory Meteion led us to believe. Metallic pillar has been partially melted, likely sometime in the distant past. Damage does not appear to have been inflicted deliberately, rather it calls to mind the indiscriminate destruction often wrought in the heat of battle. The remains have long since turned to ash, yet they can retain their form. I don't know what you're looking at there, Urianger, but it looks like part of that form is gone to ash, period. Estinian, what do you see up there, buddy? I know you like the high ground. It's over once you're up there. I thought this hill might afford a better view of our surroundings. Poor decision in hindsight. Besides the light from the ship, all is shrouded in darkness. If Thancred is here, I'd never know it. From what I can tell, we are near the edge of an island, if you can call it that, surrounded by floating debris. You say surrounded in darkness, but it's not that dark. The light of the ship is the only thing you see. There's a bunch of lit up jets. What are you talking about? Am I seeing more than they do? Were you able to find anything? As I feared, still no trace of Thancred. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, no, got kidnapped. at best. There's nothing but emptiness as far as the eye can see, which unfortunately isn't very far. I can't help but suspect that someone or something is here. There are times when I sense something drawing close, and then a chill washes over me, leaving me exhausted. Leaving me with feelings of death and anguish. I think I might see something over there. It attacked me earlier. Did I trigger something a little earlier than I should have? Like, these things shouldn't have been moving about, but since I went to go attune to the Aetheryte at the other side of the thing, it's like, oh, you hit a trigger. So now this place is wide open. What are you talking about? There's nothing there. So you're saying I took damage from nothing? So this bite wound I have from the effing dragon is nothing. Is that what you're telling me, Alisei? Gosh, dang it. Before we jump to any conclusions, perhaps we should search elsewhere. Agreed. We've only found more questions than when we are in desperate need of answers. There's a spare stretch of terrain from the ship's starboard side we've yet to explore. Let's try searching there then. Yeah, I have a feeling that I either triggered something already, or Kisara, a word before we join the others, or I'm supposed to just suspend disbelief and say, yeah, no, that's the way it is. A word before we join the others. Just meet me like a full mile down the road, and then we can talk, and then we'll travel the other mile to make it there. Like, for real though, Estinian, come on, man. See them too, don't you? Dragons. I thought. Their presence is tenuous at best, but there's no mistaking it. No doubt your bond with Midgard Somer and mine with Nidhogg is what allows us to perceive them. Could these apparitions be related to the dragons that now live on Aethris? Bah, better leave such conjecture to the others. In any case, we must be careful. We may soon find dragons that they can see as well. Death and anguish. What happened to them, I wonder? A future version of you came and just absolutely slaughtered them. Or maybe it was a past version of you, considering you're not as hateful as you used to be. Yeah, now we're getting to where I could have been here. Look there! Are those ghosts, do you think? I might say I have been restored after a fashion, but I fear I cannot see what I fear what I see cannot be trusted. It's as if Meteon herself has etched these images upon my heart. I doubt not that such a feat is within her power, given that she has constructed this sanctuary herself. Surely mine eyes deceive me. This cannot be possible. What, the dragon ghosts? Is that what we're talking about? Well, I guess we'll find out in a second. Dragons. It is true they're not of our world, but to find them in a prism of despair. It seems these dragons have yet to succumb completely to the darkness of this place, meaning that the others should see them as well. Oh, so those are blasphemies, huh? Those are draconic blasphemies, and these ones are basically fine. Midgard Storm is still the best, though. Because you guys are all
くよね。あな
What?
たたちが見ているのは私が渡ってきた星々の記憶よ。
Why are you wasting our time, Medion?
再現された末後の光景、私の心に溶け合った
Also, she's doing the same goddamn thing, if by her description, as Emmett Selk did with freaking Amarot at the end of freaking Shadowbringers. Oh my god.
そんな彼らの故郷はすでに滅びていると。
I think we're probably standing on him about it, my dude.
そうよ。あの星にはもう生きてるものは一つもない。彼らも命を持たない影胞子、永遠に嘆き続けデュナミスを染めるだけの気候なの。
So a different kind of negative emotion, huh?
サンクレットの行方をご存知なのではありませんか。
Why are you asking so politely? I know that's in your nature, Urian-J, but right now you need to be demanding where the fuck he is, okay?
おかしなことを聞くのね。彼ならすぐそばにいるでしょ。
What?
そこにもここにもこの中域のどこにでも形はなくなってしまって言葉も交わせないけれどね。
Come again?
嫌悪と不安の味がする。あなたたち自分がどうしてそこに立っていられるのか、私アーテリスに送っている週末と同じにデュナミスであなたたちのエーテルを食らい尽くそうとしたの。
I miss the old Medion. She was so much cuter with blue hair.
まず最初に息もできないのに飛びかかってきたあのサンクレットって人からね。人一人なんて消すのはあっという間だわ。彼は瞬きする間も異形になる余地すらなく消し飛んで。
The only reason I don't believe this is because that would be a shitty move to kill Thancred literally off screen. Not like if Thancred were to die in that one scene in the base of Shadowbringers fighting what's his face? The trainer of the Minfilias, right? I'm forgetting his name right now. If he died there, I would have accepted it. I would have been like, he went out swinging, protecting, you know, Minfilia, slash Reen, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know? I would have been like, fine, I'll take that. That's cool. But for him to have just gone forward trying to slash at Medion to protect us without seeing him collapse to the floor actually protecting us is kind of BS. So that's why I'm kind of like, is she trying to manipulate us to make us feel bad so that it makes it easier for her to rip us to pieces? Or is she, you know, in the positive, basically, she did rip him to pieces and she's trying to manipulate us to make it easier for because he's protecting us through, you know, the death or whatever. Or, and we can restore him later because he's not quite dead. Or is he not dead, period? Like, not even, she's lying completely through her teeth and trying to make us feel bad so it's easy for us to kind of get ripped apart. Both cases is rip, you know, making it easier.
ほんの一遍だけ残ってみせたのよ。心、魂、そういう核となる部分。彼はそこでこの後に及んで曇りなく思っていたの。守ると。その思いはデュナミスを動かしていた絶望より強かった。だから逆に
So she didn't make, oh! I'm still disappointed that we don't get to see Thancred. Like, not even like, okay, now at this point we flash back and etc. You know, with Echo, but that he's the one who created these lands. I wish he had at the if he's actually dead and can't be revived, I wish we got a little bit more about what had happened in that moment. But the way he went out was at least, you know, in theory good. Dude, why just Dragonfire dive? Why don't you use Starfire dive? I know you know it. You say that. We haven't even started yet. Wait, that last sentence, hold on. Such changes as you might work will not alter its nature. Huh? She's taunting me now, since I went to go look for those Aether Currents and I couldn't get anywhere because I was stuck. I hate her. And yes, I still would like to be a bird person if they ever bring it as another race that I could do. Good question, but if she couldn't make us on a whim, why didn't she? Oh, because of Thancred. No excuse. She's obviously not as strong as she's claiming to be. Is it bad to say that I'm glad that, you know, of the two of Reen's two dads, I'm glad that Urianger was the one to survive so far? And honestly, it's the same thing as I question, because again, the kind of setup this is, at least in theme-ish, right? With the exception of the despair part of it. No, actually even despair. It's very similar to Persona 3. But now you're at a point where you don't do anything, like, because this, basically the question they're asking here is the same one you get asked in December by essentially Thanatos, you know, the Herald of Death. And they said, hey, look, if you tell me, I can erase all your memories and you'll just die when death comes for everybody, and you won't know that it's coming and it just comes in a second, you won't even feel pain. The option being saying, F you, I'm going to fight this as far as I can. But you're going to suffer. Yeah. But if I suffer and die, the end result's still the same. I'm going to die. So same here. If we don't fight her here, if we do not try to take her out now, what is the alternative? We go back home to Aethris. And what's going to happen? The end of days is going to come. And we all die. Oh, but what about the moon? We took the ship. There's not enough time anymore. They put everything into this mission. Thankfully. I'm so glad that it didn't get too difficult once we proved our point. It's all or nothing. We die a horrible death, and everybody dies along with us back home, or we succeed. Those are our two choices. That's it. We have nothing else to lose. I don't know why it's even a question. Oh, but we don't have an answer. Doesn't matter. We don't have an answer for how to deal with. I'm gonna take this one. To deal with Medion. Doesn't matter. If we die in whatever case, it's irrelevant. It's better to throw yourself at the wall trying to find the solution than to sit back and say, "Nope, it's over. I'm done." if the solution's going to be the same, if the result's going to be the same in both ways. So, without a body, a form of being with which we are not wholly unfamiliar. Indeed, for we existed in a similar state when we were residing in the first. Circumstances are rather more dire than that, is true, but I choose to believe he is not forever lost to it. Yeah, me too, if only just for the fact that, you know, visually that was a bitch way to go. Like, thematically, I love it. Huh? Oh no. I didn't know that. I didn't know maintenance was starting like now. Yeah. 6 p.m. God damn it. I'm trying to push on, but apparently the servers are closing down now. So I thought it wasn't going to be till like midnight like usual, but no, they're starting early for it. But I'll at least do what I can here until they actually kick me out. I just read the thing. Visitor, a lot of this stuff. I'm gonna assume I get kicked out, so I'm not gonna bother with it right now. Could thy slender hands bring plague to our world? Thy breath extinguish life's feeble flame? Oh, how we would adore thee, alas. With time our flesh shall wither, souls fade, though we wait for its inexorable march into oblivion. If thou art not come to hasten our demise, I bid thee leave. Crave not companionship. Silence. Okay, I'm going to assume that any data I lose is not going to be huge. I'm just going to press on until they kick me out. Beyond that distant veil, paradise lost, so glorious, so beautiful. On burdened wings. What's with the W? We were a proud, noble race, strength embodied. We knew only love before they came. Metal monstrosities of black and silver. No bonds of blood did they share, nor conviction did they have to guide them. Are we talking about Omega? A crushing defeat. Never had we known such shame. Still now are the winds, though none. Stilled now are the winds, though none could feel these wings burdened by ignominy. We fly no more, only sink into oblivion. They feel like the Futurama neutrals, the people of the neutral planet, because they don't have a positive, they don't necessarily have negative, they're just waiting for Oblivion to come and claim them. That's it. I have no strong feelings one way or the other. Wouldst thou wouldst bid me speak? Folly. Ah, but I got you to talk, didn't I? Did I skip a line there? I observe the lesson of stone. I shall not fly, nor speak, nor roar. We watch and wait. But one sight yet stirreth my blood, tempteth me to raise my voice in lamentation. Amnol, the cradle of unsung dragons. No words, no songs are possessed of the weight to describe such tragedy. Go, if that be thy will, I'm certain. I'm just gonna go as far as the server will take me at this point. See how many people are still online. I'm still alive! Everybody else is dead. How did that work? Maybe everybody just logged out because they're like, ah, okay, server's going down and I'm just running and... Ah, Stinian, I see you found the dragon eggs he was referencing. They led you here as well, did they? It was described to me as the source of their woes and proof of their end. I think I'm beginning to see why. The hatching ground, or was. I've seen similar even on Aetheris. Midgard Soma's kind must have once lived and thrived in a place such as this. Bertra said his father was driven from their ancestral home by war and strife. This, then, is the fate of those who remained. Let us have a look around. Maybe these eggs have more to tell than what happened here. Up. Up. Yep, I think I lost connection. I can't move. Ah, snap. So how long is that? It's supposed to go to midnight tonight. Midnight, or 2 a.m. PST, which is early morning tomorrow. Well, bitch. Okay. Well, I can't do anything until this thing times out anyway. Funny, I can open other windows, but I can't open the... Oh, well. Yep. Hopefully it will reveal its secrets to me eventually. Oh, well. How you doing, Gold? Unfortunately, I just got kicked out the server because the maintenance starts now. I thought it was starting at like midnight tonight. I'm not done yet, so I'll be behind starting tomorrow again. If it wasn't for these login queues, I would start like as soon as I get home almost. God damn it. Well, on the plus side, one of the fixes that they're going to be implementing with this... Yeah, no. Okay. I'm going to hope that this holds. It's probably because... let's do this. I'm sure. Oh, I was hoping that they would have the patch notes already. Maybe they'll put it up in a moment-ish as they shut down all the servers. Anyway, but the But I know one of the things that they're going to push out with this, what did Warrior get that would have needed a nerf? I'm going to open that up, but just to finish my thought, because part of what they're also implementing now is some fixes that are related to the queue. Obviously they did some emergency maintenance to really help it out, but then they have some other fixes in place to hopefully help out the queue further. So hopefully that'll actually fix up a lot of the issues that we've been having. But I doubt it, considering that I think the only thing forward is more resources, i.e. more servers, which unfortunately with the chip shortage is not exactly an easy fix. What are Warrior's new stuff? Bloodwetting. Reduces damage taken by 10%. Restores HP. Oh, but isn't Bloodwetting just an update to, because that sounds like it's very similar to... No. Oh wait, no, that's raw. Isn't it raw intuition upgrade? Is what that is? Yeah, so it is. So it just adds Yeah. They gave it basically bloodbath, right? Is that actual blacksmith that you have there, Gold, or is that something else? The orogeny, which is attack. Okay, so it's an AoE upheaval. Okay. I wasn't sure if you were misspelling black mage there. And primal rend. I think is what, like a setup thing? And 3 charges of onslaught. You guys are the only ones with 3 charges for your charge, by the way, there, Ro. Wait, Equilibrium has the regen too? I'm gonna open up Warrior in a separate tab. Paladin is the same. Because, I have my Paladin at 57. But Paladin is the same in that regard because when you get Holy Sheltron, it gets a hot as well. And then you get a trait here, Divine Magic Mastery. So Holy Spirit and Holy Circle have a cure potency. Which means that I haven't tested it yet, but I should. Because I have a feeling that will pop, what's it called? Freaking words. They're not coming to me. Divine Veil. That I can pop my Divine Veil while doing damage, which would be nice. And then Enhanced Divine Veil gives you a cure potency when with Divine Veil. So you get a lot of self-healing on Paladin too, which is nice. Equilibrium gets some hot. Okay, yeah. Okay. So what is Dark Knight? Considering Dark Knight was basically my main tank last time. But I'm doing Paladin first at least, just because it's like it's the job class. And I don't mind Paladin. I really like Paladin. So let's see. Oblation is just an extra defensive. Not too bad. Salt and Darkness, more damage, okay. So Frey gets more potency. Blood of Shadow by Frey gets Shadowbringer. So no self-healing for Dark Knight, but then again, they have the Blackest Night, which is still the most OP defensive. It actually didn't even change between the expansion. Still 25% of total maximum HP of the target. That and you get Oblation. Do they stack? I don't know because I don't have my Dark Knight to 82 yet. I should test to see if they stack. But yeah. Then... Oh, here, just because when I was commenting a long time ago about the changes to Scholar or lack thereof, right? Because it's just upgraded Broil, upgraded Art of War. Then Protraction was pretty good because it's basically a Thrill of Battle that I can throw on anyone I want, right? A reduction in deployment tactics, which meh. And then, oh, Expedient, wonderful. I can give Sprint to everybody during battle. That's great. But one of the things they did change from when it came out, I'm still not a big fan of the PT Sprint. Oh, okay, but here's the problem, and it's a problem that benefits me who likes to play Scholar, right? Obviously, but it's still a problem because since Scholar's the only one to have it, that means that you need a Scholar and then one other healer. Since no other healer has it. Oh yeah, no, they changed a bunch of things. Nah. And they've been doing that for forever. Like, if we go back to Paladin, should really just keep opening tabs. You know what? Let's do this. Tab. So I can just hop to each and every one of them. Some of them got major overhauls. Some of them got minor tweaks. At level 50, I don't think you'll see any changes, really. But I will point something out as soon as we get to it. You know, the strings in the background, I don't know why I opened up the Blue Mage one, that's useless. The strings in the background of the music right now give me Mass Effect vibes, by the way. But just as a point of reference on the fact that they will change things between expansions, even for old moves. Sheltron used to be a move that you got at 52. Now it's at 35. Monk is like completely overhauled. Like Monk and Summoner for sure, the overhauled classes. Sorry, what? So let's see. Yeah, no. If we go back to Paladin, changes 1 to 50. Like, most of the changes are going to be potency changes here. Oh, one major change is the Spirits Within. And this is huge. No longer is based upon your health. It used to be that its damage was arranged with the potency starting with your health being maxed out and would decrease over time as your health pool was smaller. But they got rid of the health requirement. Now it's a straight 250 potency. Which is... I love it. Thank you. Use that shit on cooldown. Yeah, it's been prominence. Yeah, that's potency changes. Potency changes. Oh, and reduction of the or expansion actually, from 25 seconds to 30 seconds cast. That's it for 50. But I have Expatiation, which is basically the new Spirits Within. Basically, same thing, but it's AoE. And I'm like, oh my god, I can actually use this in AoE situation. I love it. So good. So hold on, let's take a look at something else. Yeah, my fear here with the Expedient is because Scholar's the only one that has an ability like it. That is now... For every progression party, you need a Scholar and then something else, because you need the mid-battle sprint. And it's just like... I mean, I'm glad because I'm Scholar, but... Really? But... It also could be that it's just useful for these ones, and they're not going to make it a viable option all the time. And that was my other fear, was either... You're going to need it, the Scholar's always going to be required, or you're not going to need it, and thus it's a very useless skill to get on Scholar. Because what's the point if you're only going to use it, you know, a fraction of the time? But they gave it a defensive boost to it as well, reducing damage by 10%, so now it's at least worthwhile to some degree. And I've been playing around with Sage, though I'm still at like 73, 74, somewhere around there. I'm still trying to wrap my head around some of the stuff that's going on. Because it's a super busy class. I feel like early freaking Astro with the card management, because I'm just like, okay, yeah, because they overhauled it. One of the good things about the overhaul, let's go look at Summoner since we're talking about it, right? There it is. One of the good things about the overhaul is it's an overhaul that starts in the past. I.e., and it's the same on Monk. that they moved around a lot of the skills and put new skills, etc., so that they get upgraded and you learn from scratch, from the base, how to play it if you're a new Summoner player. It's not like you play Summoner the way it was in the last expansion and then all of a sudden you get new skills come this new expansion and it plays nowhere near the same at all. Like, they just rip out the dots from you and everything. That's not what happened. The closest thing to that I remember, and it's still the case, is Black Mage, because Black Mage 1 to 50 plays absolutely different once you reach 60, and then it's pretty stable from 60 onward, with certain, you know, certain rotation variations here and there for certain things being filled in. But the 1 to 50 is completely different, but it's not so different that you're like, wait, what the hell am I talking about? What is going on? I'm doing something like... It's like if they had dropped freaking Black Mage just all of a sudden dropped Fire 3, Ice 3, and Thunder entirely out of the rotation. Would be the equivalent I could think of. But that's not the case, obviously. That's not the case at all. So what's good is that, you know, they backfilled it. So you have Summon Carbuncle, Summon Ruby, and Summon Topaz here. So you'll get all 3 summons before you even become a summoner, because that's by level 15. And as such, you get an idea of what you're doing. At least when you're dealing with that. And then moving forward, you see Ruby Outburst, Topaz Outburst, Emerald Outburst, Precious Brilliance, all this stuff. Then they get upgraded to being Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda. And it just all keeps getting upgraded and upgraded. Until you get the last ones that have summon Ifrit, summon Titan, summon Garuda 2s. I actually played around with Summoner earlier on in the expansion just to try it out and see what it got. I was going MP dry going through some of this stuff, and I was just like, holy shit. I'm so used to having, like, because the last time I played Summoner even relatively seriously, which was like never. But the last time I played Summoner relatively seriously was in a time where I could easily recover my MP between, you know, Energy Drain and Aether Flow and all this other jazz. I know that Energy Drain, and they don't have Aether Flow anymore, period. Energy Drain doesn't work the same. Beyond the fact that, yeah, reading its revision here, it doesn't get... But that looks like an older change. Energy Drain doesn't give you MP back. Fine. And your friend, by the way, is super lucky that it got in. Like, when I saw that, I was like, wow. How bad is it that you're suffering from that much success, right? That you have to tell people, please stop, like, forget about the free trials because it's a free trial. Obviously, you're making no money off that. But you also stop selling the base game in order to not have new players come in and take up the slots as well. It's insane. I'm very happy for them. Like, I'm super frustrated with the queues, but I completely, wholeheartedly, from top to bottom, understand that it's nothing that Square Enix can control. The one thing, and I talked to Ro about this in Discord earlier, the one thing that they could control, which was the constant 2002 errors, they fixed. For the most, at least from my point of view, for the most part. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure people still experience 2002s. And that's what part of this other patch gets done. Both lucky and unlucky. Ah! Rip. Rippy dippy. That sucks. But yeah, what they can control, they're fixing, and I'm very happy for it. And I'm an idiot. I could have just gone up here every single time. Oh well. Let's get rid of all the extra tabs then, shall we? Where's the... Okay, there it is. Do. Alright. Yeah, I played a little bit of Monk too, because I know I'm going to need to get around it for Yang. And some of the changes are like, wow. Like, it threw me off when I first looked at the tooltips. I was like, wait, Howling Fist is back? But basically, Howling Fist upgrades to something else. Yeah, Howling Fist. What was the other one that came back? Steel Peak. Both those disappeared. They were older moves, but they are there because they're going to upgrade at a later point to something else. I think Howling Fist basically upgrades to Elixir Field, if I remember correctly. Actually, let's look. The easy thing to check here. Oh, no. No, it's not. But, yeah. So, Steel Peak Mastery. Yeah. Steel Peak goes to Forbidden Chakra. And Howling Fist goes to Enlightenment. So, okay. It's the chakra using ones. But those two are old ones that got upgraded. They got reintroduced and upgraded. I don't know why they kept Six-Sided Star. It's still not very useful from my standpoint. Oh, I'm sure it did. I'm not 100%. I think, actually, I take it back. They haven't implemented all the PvP changes yet. And this I know for a fact, if only just because of the fact that, where is it? If I could get my freaking, if I can get Aurora looking like that, that'd be nice. But that's not happening. They have resting bitch face. There we go. Yeah, see, new PvP mode Crystal Conflict is planned for 6.1 or later. So more than likely, nah, not yet. But let's take a look just to see if there's any PvP changes. Aha. Yes, there are plenty of PvP changes. They added Reaper and Sage, actions. Yeah, it doesn't look like much has been added. Not yet, anyway. Season for the Feast. That's about it. So not yet. But there is a new PvP mode that's coming out in 6.1 or later, as it says here. The Raid Pandemonium is what we're basically getting the thing for right now. I don't play PvP either. I should, if only just because some of the glamour is freaking nice. But I don't like to go into content and just half-ass it, because then the people who go there for fun are being dragged down by somebody who's just there and going, eh. Yeah, especially since it's supposed to be about La Habrea, essentially, right? Or at least that's the hint we got. Ah, my nose. Look at Ninja, that was my other melee. Yeah. I haven't finished the story, so I'm not sure how much we'll go into it. I feel like La Habrea way too much, bro. Oh, they expanded Goka Mikyaku's range as well as nerfed its potency. And La Habrea is an ancient Inassian, so that means that I'm not wrong. I never said in particular, I just said that you like him way too much. Got the Hurajin already. First thing I would get is Phantom Kamataichi. I love that all the new skills are actually related to the ninjutsu to begin with. Because Hurajin basically grants you Huton without having to do the Huton ninjutsus. Phantom Kamataichi comes with Huton, essentially. Can only be what gives you Phantom Kamataichi ready? Dream within a dream? I'll have to keep looking around. Oh no, Bunshin. Bunshin actually gives you Phantom Kamataichi. Ready. Okay. And it doesn't have a timer, so you can actually use it whenever you... Halo no Zuchi? Dotong, you can do an auto attack once every so often. Oh. Requires Hake Munjin Satsu. That's... Oh, that's the other AoE. I never learned the name of that one. Thanks. Or if you do Katong, Satsugatong, or Phantom Kamataichi, which all of those are AoEs. Basically, AoE, and then you hit it while Doton's already on the floor. For the most part, I think you can only hit it like 2 or 3 times. Or Raiju. Can only be executed under Fork Raiju ready, which I assume you need Raitong 2, right? Raitong's not here. Raitong. Yeah, grants a stack of Fork Raiju ready. So that means you can actually stack this? That's nice. I know we did a long time ago. I know I did that for a friend of mine way long ago. But number one, I'm not sure if it's actually still in use, and if it is, I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure what it is right this second. And I believe the Mog station is also undergoing or not Mog station, but yeah. So actually, no lodestone. Mog station isn't. I take it back. Not for another couple hours. I still haven't done the Starlight Celebration. I need to go do that. Gunbreaker again. Now that we've talked about the other 2 tanks, I'm sure the show would love to put in his 2. Potency changes for the most part for all this stuff. Heart of Corundum. Basically, Heart of Stone. Updated. So basically, considering it's multiplicative, it's not 30% reduction, but it is still better than nothing for at least 4 seconds of it. On top of the brutal shell that's there, so that's actually a pretty good defensive that you could throw on there. And it gets a hot. Man, that's actually, next to the Blackest Night, probably pretty overpowered right there. Hypervelocity. I think that's a combo that comes off of Savage Claw. What am I thinking of? Blasting Zone. Not Blasting Zone. Durka Durka. Probably the other Burst Strike. Yes, you get grants Ready to Blast. So Burst Strike, and then you get Hyper Velocity, which requires. Oh, so basically it's Burst Strike, Hyper Velocity, and then you can hit double down, I think. Oh, it doesn't. Never mind. Not too bad. And when I finish this story tomorrow, I thought it was gonna be midnight. I'm so pissed right now, but if part of this fixes the queue times, tomorrow I'm gonna get in as early as possible. I'm waiting for those freaking patch notes for 6.0.1 or 6. Is it 0.1 or 0.1? It's 0.1. 0.01. Because I think we'll see the at 6.01. It's frustrating, but it is what it is. I would play something on the Switch in the meanwhile for y'all's, but by the same token, the capture card for some reason isn't capturing the audio, so we're... Yeah, you're right, there go. I'm not sure how fun that would be for y'all's if I'm playing, but then the audio's not coming through. I think the housing was also delayed, but that is usually the case. I say usually, even though we've only added one extra zone at the moment. Like, to be fair, the housing zone exists. The housing zone exists already? Yeah, here it is, the Imperium. I did the quest that's there. But I don't think, yeah. Please note that the players will only be able to visit the first ward of the Imperium upon release of patch 6.0. The sale of plots and apartments is scheduled to begin at patch 6.1. So they added the zone. You can go see where you'd like to go purchase plots. But you can't purchase a plot until 6.1. So 6.1 has a different Savage going on at that point. They don't get your hopes too far up, though. Only just because... Yeah, if only just because of the fact that getting housing is always a pain. Yeah. There's a reason why they call it Housing Savage, because of the fact that it's consistently been a fight to get anywhere with housing. But I will say that the housing, they made some more changes to how housing works. So we'll see how that change affects housing. But they've continually tried to change it to allow for more and more people to buy houses, but always seems to leave some people in the lurch. I do remember, I wonder if it's still the case, but I remember there was a ward that like 50% of the houses were bought up by one FC. actually, I think, saw this elite mark somewhere on the moon. To the moon! They didn't show off the Black Mage one here. I just noticed because we have the Summoner over here. Definitely the Summoner. No, wait. That's got to be the White Mage. I take it back because look at the staff. The Dancer. I want to say that's Ninja based on the look. This is Paladin. Dragoon. Astro. Obviously, this is Samurai. I think I should probably cut it out for tonight because I really have nothing else that I can do. Considering that the maintenance is supposed to go all the way till 2 a.m. Pacific time, which would be 5 a.m. my time. I was gonna totally finish tonight for sure too. I said I was gonna go to 2 a.m. You know, the irony is that I even said it. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna finish the story tonight, even if it takes me till 2 a.m., which is technically the end time for the patch. And I'm like, oh my god, you've got to be kidding me right now. No, I'm not gonna stay up all night. Sure. And even if I was to, for the sake of argument, get up tomorrow and start at 5 when it finishes, more than likely it's going to finish early. It usually does when it's not an expansion. At least it's early by like an hour or something like that. I still wouldn't have enough time to play all the way to the end and then go to work. And it would not be very kosher for me to say, hey, by the way, boss, let me work from home today. Thanks, bye. Oh well. Perks of living in a different time zone. Well... what are the awards and nominations on the list now? Let's see. The best ongoing game of 2020 from IGN. Best ongoing game of 2020 from PC Gamer. Best MMO music of 2020 from Massively OP. Best DLC or expansion. Partner award from the Pan Asia 2020 PlayStation Awards. Famitsu Dengeki gave it the best online game 2020, and this is all last year, by the way. So this was Shadowbringers. South by Southwest gave excellence in multiplayer. Top 10 best MMOs in 2020, which is not a real big list to break into, I don't think. Yeah. Fine MMO, German site, I think, gave it best MMORPGs to play on console in 2020. They got second place for that? What's the number one? I'm curious. Not that, you know, Black Desert, translate for me because I have no idea what it's saying. I still don't have any idea what it's saying. Oh, this is okay. I see. Checked off. Aha! Thank you. I figured it out. Black Desert. Final Fantasy 14 was number 2. So what is number 1 to play on console? MMO to play on console. Elder Scrolls Online. Okay. I guess, yeah, sure. Why not? And best MMORPGs on that site for unranked, but it's just on that list. Same with GameStar DE. Got nominated. Oh, this is only 2020 in particular, so they haven't even put their 2021 stuff on here. Woo! BGM Online given best vocal theme for Shadowbringers. Hell yeah! PlayStation Lifestyle best ongoing game. DICE Awards best role-playing game of the year from DICE. Wow. Navigator, or National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers, gave it best art direction of fantasy, best character design, costume design, gameplay design for franchise, gameplay design, game for franchise role-playing, writing in a drama, and game of the year. BAFTA gave it best evolving game. But Fortnite should have taken it from Final Fantasy 14, of course. What are you talking about? While I am poking fun at them, I have to remind myself consistently that most people who play Fortnite are children. So they're going to be very, 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 very salty about the fact that their game didn't win. Even though it doesn't speak ill of their game, it just means that Final Fantasy was just that much better at, you know, the particular things that Final Fantasy won versus them. That's what I don't understand when some people get really, really salty. Like, I got a little salty when Final Fantasy didn't win. I think, was it the year before or the year before that? I can't remember. In the same categories. And Fortnite won. I got a little salty about it, but I was just like, whatever. It makes sense why Fortnite would have won. Just because it is such a popular game. So it's fine. But the kids on Fortnite, and maybe some not even kids, and those are the ones that I'm going to look at them like, really though? Don't take a look at what Final Fantasy's doing right now and look at what Fortnite's doing and tell me that Fortnite deserves it 2 years in a row. Sure. But I won't hit on the kids too much. I'll just be like, you know, okay, your game didn't win this year. It's fine. Why don't you go try out that game if you're wondering why it beat your game? And if you're not interested, that's fine too. You know? Hope that your game wins next year if it's since ongoing game, right? But man, were you guys there for the role quest? Because I finished up the role quest, by the way, for magic casters. Magic caster seems Department of Redundancy Department levels. But were you guys there for that? Because damn, that story got real. That was crazy. Well, the only thing I'm waiting for at this point is patch notes. Usually they're pretty good at putting up patch notes pretty quickly, but let me see if I can search something real quick for okay. Because that shit got real fast. It was great. Hide that rope. Bring up. To see if Final Fantasy IV put anything in. Oh. Last thing was a retweet of an article from the UK back on the 17th. Hey! Putting it back on screen in a sec. Final Fantasy XIV won IGN's Best Ongoing Game of the Year award. Hold on. Was that third year in a row? Not that we should trust IGN for everything, but it's just like, wow, okay. IGN, yeah, won it last year. It was 2019. 3 years running. At the very least. Let's see, is there a 2018? There is, but they won nothing that year for the most part. To my point of not trusting IGN as it is, just because, you know, it's IGN, you know, as it is. Because, okay, they are not on this list. Okay, 2015 they are, to be fair, but it was top 25 PlayStation 4 games, and it was number 15. Okay, fine. 2015 was when? Final Fantasy XIV related. Quick. Trying to find the Wikipedia, not the wikis. That's why I was fighting with it. Let's see. – 2015 was basically 2.5 and the beginning of Heaven's Ward. And all that IGN could muster was the number 15 in top 25 PlayStation 4 games. For real though? Like, look at everybody else even. Best MMORPG, and assuming that they don't have an best MMORPG category, because it says ongoing game, not RPG. Fine. So assuming that, fine. Moving on. But like, best story, best DLC, best PC game. Best score. You know? See, and now we're getting back into ARR, where this might get a little bit more difficult. But they got some good stuff. But yeah, 3 years running, they've won at least. Final Fantasy XIV has won IGN Best Ongoing Game. Pretty good. But again, I don't trust IGN as far as I can throw them anyway, so it doesn't matter. Wasn't IGN also the one that said they gave what was it, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire the shitty score saying too much water? They got nominated for a BAFTA. Did they ever win the BAFTA at any point? Yeah, but see, it's not... The walkthroughs that are on IGN are rarely written by the employees of IGN. Or at the very least, if they are, they're then edited by, you know, people who know what they're doing. Reviews, I go there just to get a sense, and then I go look somewhere else for a second opinion. Because it's never, ever... Okay, no. So they have yet to win a BAFTA. In fact, they got an honor last year. You don't want to dismiss something out of hand. Why? Because you never know when a particular writer who knows what they're doing will show up in a medium that you weren't aware. And almost elevate the entire thing, right? I stopped trusting reviews of video games the moment when 10 started to get handed out like candy. 10 out of 10s. Way back when, the last time, I forget if it was IGN or if it was Game Informer. But at the time that I trusted reviews the most, there were only 2 games that got 10 out of 10 in the history. One of them was Chrono Cross, and I feel good about that one, but looking back on it, I'm not sure if it deserves a 10 out of 10. I'd say at least a 9 out of 10, but not a 10 out of 10. Just because of the controversy that it swelled around it being a sequel to Chrono Trigger that didn't satisfy the Chrono Trigger fans because it was such a departure. And what was the other one? The other one was Resi 4? No. I can't remember at the moment. I just remember Chrono Cross because Chrono Cross is one of my favorite games of all time. But then I started seeing it get handed out to like yearly releases and this, that, and the other. It's just like, really? And the problem that I have with online reviews, right? Specific, is that some people will say, and I don't agree with this line of reasoning, is that a reviewer needs to play the entirety of the game in order to properly review the game. And they will compare it to a movie critic. That they have to sit through an entire movie, even if they know from the first 5 minutes the movie is going to be shit. They still sit through the entirety of the rest of the movie because they have to. It's their job. The problem is that it's not an equivalent comparison. Yes, the movie critic has to sit through the entirety of the movie, but the movie is a fixed length. All they have to do is sit through at minimum, I think a feature-length movie is what, 90 minutes? So a minimum an hour and a half. A maximum of like 4 hours or whatever the Lord of the Rings were, right? I say Lord of the Rings. I know that wasn't their theatrical cut. It was that I'm thinking Descendants. But either way, maximum being, too fucking long. But it's still a fixed length. Game experience is variable. One of the things that I remember is that, especially with RPGs, which are my favorite genre. RPGs are my absolute favorite genre. People will complain the hell out of an RPG that someone completes in like 8 hours. But that someone, being the reviewer, completed the main story in 8 hours. There are side quests, which, expand the time frame. And maybe you take time to soak in the environment. There's nothing to say that you can't. But that's unfortunately not something that reviewers take into account. And if they did, you are not going to get the amount of reviews that you want. The quality will go up, but now that reviewer is not able to also review, say, the other, like, I'm trying to find, I was going to say a different RPG, but my mind's on Final Fantasy XIV and having the screen. Let's use COD just for the sake of argument. So obviously he's a shooter reviewer. Okay. They went through the entirety of COD, maxed out level and everything to give a proper review, but they missed the Battlefield release. And now that review is late because they took so much time on COD. And now they look like, they're shilling for Activision because they're not looking at Battlefield. Can't play the entirety of the game for a review. Don't care what you say. But you should play enough. Like, what drives me nuts is when a reviewer plays 2 hours of a game, which is enough for a certain style of game, but now they're playing a different kind of game. Happens a lot with RPGs. This is why I'm hating it from back to front. They come from a different world, action games, this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden, they come into an RPG world, and they play 2 hours because that's usually enough to get the gist to run with it. Not so for an RPG. Rarely you get the gist of how the game works for an RPG in the first couple hours. And also, because it's an RPG, you need to take into account the story. Remember that as much as I and everybody praises Final Fantasy XIV, we all say that the first bit, the ARR stuff, is relatively a slog. The story, not so much. The story is actually relatively interesting from my point of view. That's the whole reason why I stuck through it. I'm not bringing up MMORPGs. That's not fair. That's completely not fair because you have to play through, especially Final Fantasy XIV, you have to play through ARR, Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and then play Endwalker to review this expansion. Nah. I'm talking about single-player experiences because this happens even in just those. For sure, 2 hours isn't enough to force 14. Heck, I did 2 10-hour stints of streaming on the release weekend. Monday, Tuesday of that week. The Tuesday of the actual proper release. And I'm still not done. Mostly due to queue times, yes, but I'm still having issues. Because I'm enjoying myself, I'm commenting on what I'm seeing. I'm commenting on a bunch of other things and trying to level essentially 3 classes at once. Because I'm leveling Black Mage through the story as much as I can. I have my Paladin that's at 57. And then I have Scholar at 50, I said. 87. Sage I have to like 73. And I just got my Scholar to 81. So, yeah, I don't have the time. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things that I can't go the opposite direction. If anyone takes anything away from how I am as a person, it's that I always play as close to middle ground as I can. I will not tell a reviewer that he or she has to sit through the entirety of the game in order to review it appropriately. Because that's bullshit. There are some games you can get, in my opinion. In my opinion, the issue lies in that their reviews should be on the gameplay. not the story. So it's more just the gameplay. Whereas, just to give a better comparative analysis, it's just the movie, the story that's being told in the movie, a book review, the story that's being told in the book. For game review, it should be the gameplay and game feel, because any game with a proper story attached to it, i.e. not like Overwatch or whatever, where there's not a story in the game itself, the story should be secondary to how the game feels to play. And yes, a book reviewer can review nearly any genre. A movie reviewer can review nearly any genre. But I guarantee you that a game reviewer cannot review every genre of game. I would be the worst person to give you a review of a first-person shooter. Why? Because number one, I suck at first-person shooters by comparison to most people that I've seen play online. And I actually like campaigns, like story campaigns. Those are my bread and butter because I come from RPGs. So if you give me a Star Wars Battlefield, the newer one, that only gives me the online play, I'm going to be like, that game sucks. Even if the gameplay was great. Just because I'm expecting a campaign to play with. And then if I feel like it, I'll go play the multiplayer on the side. Multiplayer for me in a game, a first-person shooter game, is not... I wanted to say novelty, but it's not a novelty. It's just kind of like this side thing. It's, if I want to do it, I'll go and do it. But my main point here is to play through the campaign. But I would be the worst person to review most first-person shooters because that's not what first-person shooters are about. At all. My shtick would probably be closer to playing RPGs, if not specifically JRPG. Exactly. One of the things that did come up, here's one. Since it is RPG, I do have it. I should play it at some point on stream. I did start it a bunch of times and then kind of fell off the bandwagon. I have, or was gifted, Cyberpunk 2020, whatever. I'm forgetting the number that's attached to it right now. I was gifted that. I got sidetracked with a different game, I think, at that point in time, right? Brain, work, bring me words, thank you. But obviously, on release, on almost every platform except for my PC specifically, it was buggy as all shit. PlayStation 4 in particular, it was buggy to the point of crashing PlayStation. So of course, a review must make mention of such things. But were I to review it from the 1 to 2 hour gameplay that I have on the game, which for a game like that is absolutely nothing, but just for sake of argument, I would say, it's pretty decent, pretty good. I had a lot of fun. Gameplay wise, it felt very stable. Graphics, my computer's doesn't have a 3080 type setup, but it did really good. The fact that I could play, this out of the other in the setup, as well as trans, not trans, that was pretty progressive and all this other jazz. But that would be my experience because I'm playing off PC. And I don't try to push my PC to its absolute breaking point limit unless I know that it can handle it. I.e., when I jacked up the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3 to the max because I knew my PC could totally handle it. Versus everybody else who was on a console who was having such an issue. I would be wrong in reviewing it and saying it was a pretty decent game, that it looks beautiful and all this other jazz, because I'm not playing what other people are playing. I'm not right, I'm not wholly wrong to the point where it's like, but then I would be an asshole to say, why don't you just buy the PC version of the game? Because I have a PlayStation 4 and I expect it to work on that platform. What do you want from me? So it's just one of those things that, and multi-platform, just think about that. I'm playing the game, like even if I was an actual reviewer and I played all of Cyberpunk 2077, now I remember the number. I played all of Cyberpunk 2077, beginning to end, gave you a proper review, but I played it on the PC and I came out saying it was an awesome game, it was good or whatever, or at the very least it was decent. I had no glitches or issues. And then all of a sudden, all the PS4 gang go like, what the f*** are you talking about? That thing was such a buggy mess, I crashed my PS4, what the hell are you talking about? They're right, but I'm also correct because I played on the PC version. I would have to play 2 or 3 different versions of the game when it's multi-platform to make sure it is stable across all versions. So anybody out there who says, oh, the game reviewers need to play the thing to completion. Nah. They need to play to the point where they do not see anything new. And they've come to a conclusion on the game field. Now, don't get me wrong. The way that some reviewers have played these games, we can tell, they don't play to that point. But they should. By the way. I'm sorry. Rant over. I'm such a freaking dick. Oh, man. Uh-huh. You're absolutely correct. And you want to know how you can confirm that shit? Just on Steam. Just, again, technically this is the same across all boards, right? But on Steam, go check the percentage of people who have certain trophies that are story progression. You'll see nearly 90-some% have those early ones. And this is just story progression. This isn't like, a challenge mode, etc. So on and so forth. Yeah, the global achievements, right? It's not like get like 500 of these item or whatever. It's not. This is the stuff that everybody, by completing the game from beginning to end story-wise, you get these achievements. By the time you get to what is usually the last achievement of the game, if you're lucky, you have 50% of people. If you're lucky. Can we mention that, since I'm looking right now at 1.0's stuff, right? Can we just give the dev team their props that they went in with this kind of setup? This is what this is what it is. This is what we believe the players want. And when they got the backlash that some in the company were expecting, according to NoClip's behind the scenes stuff, they sat back and said, what can we learn from this? Well, not only what can we learn from this, but what can we do to fix it? Because they were going to fix it regardless. Whether it was what ended up happening, which was obviously the better choice of rebuilding the game from scratch and continuing to dev for what was there, or just keep patching what's there to hopefully fix it to a playable state. Irrelevant, right? We need to fix this. They learned from the mistake. And who was it I was listening to? It was some ex-WoW player. I forget who it was. But he started it, and I was gonna I paused it in the middle because it's like, let me see what he says. But I already have my thoughts because he said, Final Fantasy 14 would not be what it is today were it not for the failure. And that's why I paused. I was just like, okay, if he's gonna say like the failure of the WoW's been having lately, and thus the Exodus and all this other jazz, he's not wrong, but it still would be what it is today, even with what Final Fantasy's doing. Then I hit play. He goes, so to finish the thought, if it was not for the failure of 1.0, and I'm like, no, 100% agree. There's no way we would have this good of a game. There was no way this game would be this good if 1.0 didn't fail as bad. Yeah, it would have. If for the WoW thing, yeah, it would definitely have shorter queues. Absolutely correct. But that's all that it would have. But as far as it would not be so good and so well received were it not for the failure of 1.0. And I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. I've never played 1.0. I joined around 2.4, 2.5 to be fair. But everything I see about 1.0 reminds me of Final Fantasy 11, which I didn't like as much. I got to like level 20 and then quit. Like as I've said in the past, 14 is the only MMO that I played to endgame. But if it was not for the fact that this thing got shit on so hard that it damaged the name of Final Fantasy, a name that couldn't take any more damage because 13 was so ill received as well. Not that bad. Like, it wasn't to the point of like, you know, garbage tier, obviously, but it was not in the best light. And then 14 comes out. 14 1.0 comes out. Honestly, had they gone with option 1 of just patch what they have, I feel like Final Fantasy as a franchise would be dead right now. 14 would be on its last limbs, just trying to scrape out what little funds they could still get out of the player base and all this other jazz. 15 might have still come out only because it was already in development. But 16, nah, they're not even going to bother investing in 16. Why? Why invest in 16? Maybe because 15 does pretty good. Okay. But definitely not if they had kept with 14. 1.0. But because they looked at it and they said, yes. But because they looked at this failure of 1.0 and said, this has harmed our flagship franchise. The only other franchise we have that is as well known as Final Fantasy XIV and as long running is Dragon Quest. They have Nier, but with the exception of Nier Automata, that series of games, Drakengard, Dragon Dragoon, if you want to call it by the Japanese name, and the first Nier, even the remake of the first Nier hasn't sold as well as Automata did. So even that one is not that big of a, oh, look at what we've got. It's really nice. In fact, let's go look at Square Enix. What do they have under their banner for game series? Oh, they own Taito. Interesting. They own Eidos, okay. So with that in mind, so they own ActRaiser, the Bravely Default series, which is still relatively new. Chrono series, everybody would still remember. The Chocobos, still because of Final Fantasy. Drakengard and Nier, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy. In Japan, Itadaki Street is actually really good. Basically, Monopoly-ish. Kingdom Hearts would keep them afloat. But part of the reason why Kingdom Hearts would keep them afloat is because it has the backing of the Final Fantasy characters on the other end of that half of the character base. The other half being Disney. So if Final Fantasy's gone, Tactics the Ogre series for Tactics Ogre. The Legend of Mana series, popular. Saga, Parasite Eve, Star Ocean, Arkanoid. Look at all these games. Like, you might recognize some of these games because they've had some good games here and there. Deus Ex, as far as Square Enix Europe, which is Eidos. Fear Effect, Kane and Lynch, Just Cause, as you mentioned already. Life is Strange. But the thing is, they're not like flagship franchises that you're like, oh yes, I equivalent this franchise with this company, you know? So if it fails, what does it matter? Because it's not really attached to us. But Final Fantasy? The only other company that I attribute Final Fantasy to that's not Square Enix is Squaresoft, which is the company it was before Squaresoft and Enix merged. So here we go. List of franchises. Let's just go down this list. ActRaiser, which hasn't really been, not really been popular since 1995, essentially, and we just got like an HD remake of the original ActRaiser. Oh, Bubble Bobble. Everybody remembers Bubble Bobble. Bravely Default, fine. It's only had 2 games. 2 games in 10 years, by the way. What else is here that really recognizes? Deus Ex, okay, that's fine. Not necessarily their flagship franchise, but that's fine. Dragon Quest, again, that's a flagship franchise, and that's fine. That one would probably live. Drakengard, I wouldn't call it a flagship franchise, but it's got its name out there now. Final Fantasy, again, huge. Flagship, very much attached to it. Going down the line, what else? Fun mention. From what I saw, the Kingdom Hearts, fine, but only fine because Final Fantasy exists. Lord of Dominion, all this stuff. What's it matter? Fails. Final Fantasy. Luckily, they took a step back and said, oh, well, our flagship franchise is about to take a tank. So either we invest money to make sure it does not, or we let it squander and we try and create another flagship franchise. But how often do you get that chance? How often do you get the chance to make another flagship franchise after you let one squander? Usually 0. Usually you don't get that chance. I'm trying to think of what company might have that opportunity. Can't think of anything off the top of my head. But I'm sure there's at least 1 or 2 companies that, somebody's going to shoot at me. But for sure, you don't get that often. If ever. So I would never let that hit the floor. And I'm glad that Square Enix decided to invest a ton of money. And now they're making bank. Wow. I mean, let's look at the Final Fantasy franchise. Let's take a look at that. The only reason I knew about it from before was because of the Chrono series, if I'm being honest. So the Chrono series, Chrono Trigger came out in 1995. Chrono Cross, one of my first games I've ever owned, came out in 1999. I got it for the PlayStation 2. I then was able to go back and play Chrono Trigger, have fun with that, go back to play Chrono Cross, and have a whole different experience than what I had originally had. I love that. But Chrono Cross was developed by Squaresoft. So I decided, let me take a look at one of their other games. And I was able to pick up Samurai Legend Musashi. You thought it was going to be Final Fantasy, didn't you? No, it was Samurai Legend Musashi, which had a demo disc for Final Fantasy VIII. And thus, I was able to get into the Final Fantasy series. But let's see. Okay, release timeline. So, you said about 3 years ago, that's when you found out about Final Fantasy. So now the question lies, did you find out because of 14 or 15? Because timeline-wise, it's kind of important. Not you. Then how did you find out about Final Fantasy if you didn't know about the current Final Fantasies? If you don't mind me asking. Not that I'm calling you a liar or whatever. I'm just curious as to how you found out about Final Fantasy without knowing about the current ones, if you had never known about it earlier than 3 years ago. Oh, so you were aware through, say, cultural osmosis, but you weren't knowledgeable on the subject. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Well, with that. So, I had played at least a little bit of 8. Yeah. Because, trust me, I absorb a lot through cultural osmosis. Or at least maybe my own, reaching out to certain things osmosis, right? Because I'll sit here and I'm like, I know of these things. I've never played any of the Saga series, but I know about them. I've never played any of the Mana series, but I know about them. So it's not unheard of, for sure. But yeah, so I played 8 first. Then I went back and played 7 because I heard that was the better one of the two, which is honestly more of a. I don't think there's anybody who hasn't had that experience. Let's see, what was my actual first JRPG? Yeah, it had to have been Pokemon because I didn't actually get a console until I got the PS2. That's why Chrono Cross was my first Squaresoft game. But I did have a Game Boy before that, and I had Pokemon. Gen 4, definitely my first Pokemon was Gen 1. Oh no, I'm showing my age. I'm getting old. Shit. But one thing that I did do, open that up real quick. So there are two things. There are two things that I still need to finish. Sorry, I'm opening up something in the background. So I do need to go back because I was trying out the Yakuza series, as you recall, Gold, but I'm just going to save for anybody else who's... so I need to go back and do that. We left off on Yakuza 3. I'm going to play all the way as far as I can go. So I need to get back to that when I've stabilized in 14. First off. Second off, is another thing I should do, just because I did purchase them. They are part of my inventory. But I got the pixel remasters for Final Fantasies 1 through 6. And I also have Final Fantasy 15. I should probably go and play all these games. I have so many games I need to play. My backlog is so full. Finished my replay of Chrono Trigger from when that came out on Steam. I have this Gaia on here. I want to. Yeah, Persona 4. Luckily, I did beat that one. The person who got me into Persona is actually Sho. Because actually, I wasn't all that aware of Persona. Like, not even... Like, the cultural consciousness part of that only shows up in, like... I know that it's there. I know there's Persona, but I have no idea what the hell it is. Like, at all. So then Sho says, you're playing Persona. I got you into streaming. You better freaking play Persona. At least that's how I feel like the senpai pressure came in. I didn't even watch the animes. I had no freaking clue about anything Persona. At all. So I dug up, let's just say I found a way to play the Persona 1 PSP remake on stream. It was interesting, fun, fine. I started playing the Persona 2 Innocent Sin remake with the intention to do that one, and then the second Persona 2. I was gonna have to dig up the PSX version because they never did the PSP remake in English anyway for Eternal Punishment. But as I'm getting through Innocent Sin, Joe tells me, stop. They soft reboot in 3. And those games, playstyle wise, are nothing the same like Persona 3 through 5. And I'm like, okay, fine. You being impatient person you are, very well. So I go play 3. I play FES. And if you haven't played Persona 3 and have played Endwalker, you will see, going back to play Persona 3, a lot of similar themes. Or at least I'm feeling it, if only just in the fact that it's how one approaches the inevitability of death. It's definitely what it is in Persona 3, and I feel like it is what's part of Endwalker here. As at the very least, I think it's attributed to Benjamin Franklin. And if it's not, you know, as it's usually attributed to Benjamin Franklin, the only things certain in life are death and taxes. So, as such, how does one approach their ultimate demise? In both Persona 3 and so far in Endwalker, I'm saying, fuck you, I'm gonna approach it kicking and screaming, because I get to choose when I want to die. You don't get to tell me when I die. I choose when I want to die, for as much as I can. I still got life left to live in me. Anyway, but then I played Persona 4, and that one was more about, from my point of view, more about truth. And whether or not people would like to see the truth, even if it's painful to them. Which is a very... I love those two games, if only just because it's very deep in that aspect. How does one approach death, or the concept thereof? Whether it's someone that they care about, or their own. Interesting. Persona 4. Totally different idea, in that, how does one approach the truth? Even if the truth will hurt you. Even if the truth is painful to the point that you don't want to face it anymore. Do you still want to know the truth? Still very heavy. Like, the only thing that I was disappointed in Persona 4, and it's the only thing, and it still doesn't take away for how good that game is that the scale is so much smaller than it was in Persona 3. The scale in Persona 4 is the town. The town will be lost in fog, to hide the truth from them, to give the analogy, right? In Persona 3, the physical manifestation of death comes to destroy or to kill everyone in the world all at once. One seems to be a little bit more important than the other. If it's only a town getting, the truth hidden from them versus everybody dying. So the scale seems a little bit different. But it takes nothing away from Persona 4. Because to me, I got a lot closer to every single one of the characters in Persona 4 than I did with Persona 3. There was someone, Lucy Pyre, it's a VTuber on YouTube. Lucy Pyre, when she went through her 100 questions that she was answering to kind of set herself up, she mentioned that she got a lot closer to Persona 3. I was just like, really? Well, I'm not going to say that the characters of Persona 3 are flat or that I didn't care about them. But Persona 4 had the perfect setup for their social links. You want to know why? Because their social links are directly tied to the avatar power. So the closer you get to your party members, the stronger they are for you when you go into the dungeons. So you got to know them on such a personal level, and you got rewarded for it through gameplay. That was not the case in Persona 3. In Persona 3, it was either pure leveling and then a ingrained story beat. An MSQ story beat that caused your party members to grow more powerful. So you didn't need to know them that well. And then as a male protagonist, as is usual in Persona, with the exception of Persona 3 Portable, the only people of your party that you got close to were the females. Because you could date them. You didn't have any social links with any male characters. So, which I will restate again, because I played actually also Persona 4 Arena, and I will be playing, going back to play Persona 4 Arena Ultimax when it comes out on Steam. And I still call bullshit of the highest variety that the Persona 3 characters have their evolved personas. Because, like as I mentioned, it's an MSQ beat. The Persona 4 characters don't have their evolved ones because you might not do it. You might not do their social link, which makes sense. However, I don't think Narukami would actually not get to know his friends. Like between Yuki, or the main character from 3, also known as Dorkun, and Narukami, of the two of them, I think Narukami would get to know his party members through the social links rather than Yuki does in his, because Yuki is not like Narukami, like at all. So, to me, I was like, when I saw that their personas weren't involved, I was like, bullshit. There is no way in hell that Narukami would not get to know his friends to the point where they would be more comfortable with themselves to get their personas involved. Fuck you. I don't care that that it makes sense if Narukami just beelined the freaking story. No. Because to me, if you're gonna do a sequel to a game, unless you're a mad lad like freaking Yoko Taro, you choose the best end to continue from. So there's no way in hell that you would get best end in Persona 4 without having all your social links maxed, with at least your party member, if not a couple others as well. So I keep calling shenaniganery on it. And then I haven't played Persona 5, so I can't really speak to what it is, but I'm sure it's more, again, of how does one approach this psychological aspect of, for lack of a better word, of your own persona. But I just haven't, because I don't own a PS4. Most of the reason why I don't play many PS4 games, or PS5. I don't have PS5 either, so I can't do that. But I'm really hoping that at some point, I mean, they released Persona 4 Golden here on Steam. They released Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. So I'm really hoping that at some point in the future, they'll release Persona 5 Royal on here. The Royal. We'll see. And I'll be able to play it. Either way, we are past what my usual stream time is anyway. At this rate. But tomorrow we'll get back to finishing this up because we got shit to do. I wanted to try and finish it up tonight, but actually let's check the lodestone one more time just to see if the patch notes got put up while in our long ass conversation about other things. Nope. You know, now I think about it. Blue Dragon, shit. I remember Blue Dragon, actually. I remember Blue Dragon because it was the before Dragon Quest. It was the first one that I knew of that had Akira Toriyama as the character designer, which made me stupid because he also did the character design for Chrono Trigger. So, either way, Digimon World and Digimon Story. I actually got it, and I probably would have played this on stream while we were waiting here if it wasn't for the fact that I can't capture sound right now from my thing. But I picked up a Digimon Cyber Sleuth for the Switch. I've been having kind of a blast with it, but I want to get back to I'd like to get back to it. The mystery stuff is interesting, but this dropped, and then I discovered that it's not capturing the sound, so oh well. But either way, for sure, tomorrow we will get back on, and hopefully the queues won't be as bad. It's actually really cheap. I got it for like $25 American. That was, I think, no, it was used. It was used. But either way, and it actually has two games in there because it has Cyber Sleuth and then Hacker Story or whatever it was. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth, and Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory. So it technically has two games in one. It feels really cheap. Like, if one were to claim that Digimon was a Pokemon knockoff, which I know it isn't because I actually watched Digimon as a kid, and I'm very much aware that the Digimon what's it called, Virtual Pet predates Pokemon. But if you were to tell me that Digimon was an actual Pokemon knockoff, I'd believe you because it feels cheap in certain sections. But story's interesting, and the way that the Digimon, evolve through stages and whatnot. Not only digivolving upwards, but you can digivolve them downwards to go different directions. So you don't have to carry that much mons to get through the game. It's an interesting little mechanic. I just wish, it was in a better, I don't want to say design, but at least it was realized in a better way. Like, people complain about Pokemon and how that feels like it's cheap. It's like, you guys want to go play Digimon sometime? Because that thing feels cheap as hell by comparison. Either way, sorry. ADD, stop doing this to me. But yeah, no. Tomorrow we're going to finish Final Fantasy Endwalker's MSQ. Come hell or high water. And I will make an attempt to jump into Pandemonium, which is the raid, given enough time. But until then, you guys have all been 10 out of 10 with me, and I will see you guys come tomorrow for that stuff. Have a wonderful day, evening, morning, etc. Wherever the heck you are. See you tomorrow. One last thing, yeah, if I'm being honest there, Gold, me too. I loved the hell out of Digimon as a kid. Almost more than Pokemon. Almost pure due to its anime. Digimon Adventure. See you tomorrow.